Welcome to this Jamesthebikeguy, where today we're getting a chance to take a look at the 2023 Trek Farley 9.6. Now this is their carbon fiber super fat bike, and in fact it's been updated for the 2023 season to be a little more capable of carrying your gear for longer adventure rides. So in this video we're going to go over the features and designs of this 23 Trek Farley 9.6, check out all the parts and features, and of course we'll end up finding out what it weighs. So if this kind of thing is interesting to you, go ahead and stick around and let's check out this bike together. All right, what is a Trek Farley and where did it come from? So the Trek Farley has been in Trek's lineup for quite a few years now, and it's their fat bike. Now, what a fat bike is essentially a bike that has fat tires and is capable of riding on snow or sand. And in fact, a lot of people enjoy riding them on regular trails as well. But you'll see this bike is coming through with a 4.5-inch wide tire. And typically the differentiation to call something a fat bike is when the tires get wider than 3.8 inches. So if we go back to the first generation Trek Farley, that bike would have come with 26-inch diameter wheels and 3.8-inch wide tires. And fast forward to 2023, and these are 27.5-inch wheels with 4.5-inch wide tires. But this bike is also capable of running the old 26-inch wheel, but with a 5-inch wide tire. So things have gotten quite a bit wider, and you can see these tires just totally fill up the frame. And something that's kind of neat when you have super wide fat bike tires like this is that your tire pressure becomes to be much, much lower. So you'll see here it says maximum pressure of 25 psi. Now typically on a fat bike, if you're running it tubeless like this bike can, you might actually run under 10 psi on a snowy day, and maybe 10 up front and 12 in back on a hard packed summer day. But around us in cool New England, this bike is going to be set up tubeless and ready to go in the snow. So you'd run those tires super low. Other interesting things to talk about on the Farley series is as this has evolved over time, fat bikes have gotten much lighter, much more capable, and this bike is no exception, seeing that it comes with their OCLV mountain carbon fiber. So that means this whole frame is carbon fiber, the fork is carbon fiber, and the geometry is set up to be more like an XC performance bike. Now, speaking of geometry, quick hits here. The head tube angle is 69 degrees. The seat tube angle is an effective 73 degrees, and the chainstay comes in at 455 millimeters. Now that 455 millimeters is the distance, of course, from your crank to your rear axle, and that's what's going to change essentially where the rear center is on the bike and how poppy versus stable the bike feels. And to make that even more adjustable, Trek runs their sliding rear dropout. So you'll see this closed convert dropout. This has a sliding section. So this little plastic spacer that's in there can be removed and flipped to the other side, and that'll move the rear axle about 15 millimeters forward. In doing so, when you move it 15 millimeters forward, that's going to then shorten up the wheelbase of the bike, make it a little more maneuverable, and when it's in this longer position, it's going to make it more stable. The other thing that changes is the capability of running tires. So as you can see here, this tire is pretty tightly snugged in. So in fact, if you wanted to run this 27.5 by 4.5 in the shorter direction, this size medium frame wouldn't be capable of it. The size small and mediums for that big fat tire need to be run in the longer position. If you swap that out for a 3.8 or a 4.0, you could bring it in. Or in fact, if you went down to a 26-inch tire, say in the 4-inch wide, you could slide in, as well as you could also run a 26 by 5 in the longer position. That's a whole lot to say that it's pretty neat that you can adjust the geometry. And part of that adjustment in geometry, something else that I really love about the bike, is you can set this up for winter use with a 29-inch mid-fat. What a mid-fat is effectively a tire that's 2.8 to 3.2 inch wide. And so if you got yourself another set of wheels, you could run 29-inch by 3-inch wide tires on this bike during the summer, making it a really awesome all-season bike. So speaking of how to do that, the front hub is a 15 by 150 millimeter and the rear hub is a 12 by 197. So you'd have to lace up those hubs to 29-inch rims, and that would create that all-season bike. Now, one of the big changes for 2023 is going to be the adjustment of the front fork. And this fork up front used to be the Haru carbon fork, but for 2023, it's now a Farley specific fork that comes with rack and accessory mounts. So these mounts up front here are designed for one of those kind of pizza style carriers to be able to put a front bag on the bike, be able to carry your tent, your sleeping bag, even just a duffel with things that you want out on a longer ride. And then on the side of the fork, we now have eyelets to be able to run bag mounts, water mounts, whatever you might want underneath these little eyelets. Now on the 9.6, being that it's the carbon fiber version, the lighter and faster one, it used to not have mounts at all on the bike. Now, of course, they have not updated the back of the bike to have mounts, so all of the gear carrying capabilities are now up front. But it's nice to see that they added that, because if you wanted a lighter weight rig for some fat bike bike packing, you now are able to do it with the bike, whereas before you had to run the aluminum bike. The other thing that's changed on this rig for 2023 is now we've got a dropper seat post. So what that means is this seat post from here to there, the seat post can actually drop down, and it's operated by a lever on the handlebar. So you press the lever with your body weight on, the saddle drops right down, and then of course, if you want to lift the saddle up, you take your body weight off, hit the button again, and it'll slide right back up. The benefit to that is both with the saddle down, you're now able to descend a little more aggressive. But the other thing that's really neat about that is it allows you to be able to put your feet down on the ground in the snow. Now, I've got a video talking exactly about how this works, that if you want to understand more of what I mean, go ahead and click that down in the description below. But it's very nice that that's now come in stock on the bike. Moving into the drivetrain and parts of this Farley 9.6, this is definitely a pretty nicely spec'd bike, starting off with some SRAM GX componentry. So this is the GX Lunar group set, which means it's a 12-speed drivetrain that operates a 10 to 52 tooth rear cassette. Now that nice wide range, it's going to give you 520% range, lots of gearing for slower climbs, slogs through the snow. And up front, it's driven through this 30-tooth narrow wide chainring on a SRAM GX crankset. I'd love to see that this is a full GX build. No cross with any other manufacturers. They always work best when it's together. And then for pedals, it's coming with some really basic plastic pedals. Now, in some cases, you might even find that in the showroom, it won't have pedals. This is definitely a place where you should upgrade to either a good set of flats or a set of clip-in pedals if that's your thing. Up front on the handlebar is, of course, going to be our brakes and our shifter. But carrying on that GX setup, it's a GX shifter, thumb button to go to an easier gear, and then forward, there's another thumb button to go to harder gear, and it's slowed down with the SRAM level TL brakes. This is a DOT fluid brake. It operates a 2-piston caliper, both on the front and the rear, slowing down on 160 millimeter rotors. And keeping to the lightweight fashion, another thing that's pretty neat are these grips. Now these are ESI silicone grip. So this is a silicone grip. It's super lightweight, and while lightweight isn't the main feature on a fat bike, it also has really great damping capabilities. So with that fat tire and a rigid fork running down in those lower tire pressures, it takes away most of the real large bumps, but it's still nice to have this foam grip to help soften the little bits of vibration that get through on this aluminum 31.8 handlebar, mating up to a Bontrager Blender aluminum stem. And sliding back from the stem is the Bontrager Verse Elite saddle. This Verse Elite saddle, pretty comfortable in my opinion. I've spent a bit of time on one of these. And then it's of course mounted up onto that dropper seat post. Now, the drop length of the seat post is going to vary a bit by size. So the larger the bike, the more dropper post, smaller the bike, the shorter. And that makes sense so that you get the proper drop height to saddle height that would go along with a corresponding bike. Finally, it's driven through some Sunringley Mulefoot 80 rims. These rims are 80 millimeters wide. They've got these cutouts where you can see the rim strip popping through. This is actually filled up with air. It's pretty cool. And these are tubeless capable, although the bike is coming with tubes at the moment. And it's rounded out with some Barbagazzi 27.5 by 4.5 inch wide tires. This is a 120 TPI tire. Nice fast rolling setup with siping in the tread blocks for grip on snow and ice. They are not studdable, so if that's something you want to do, might be something else to look into. But they are wrapped up on a rapid drive 108 hub. That means that this hub is really fast engaging with 108 teeth of engagement. And if we take a listen, that's right, it is a really nice sounding hub. Well, anyways, now that we've taken a look at all those features and designs of this Trek Farley 9.6, I say it's time to find out what it weighs. The actual weight of the Trek Farley 9.6 in a size medium comes in and weighs 29.36 pounds. Well, thanks for joining me on this video on the 2023 Trek Farley 9.6. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're at it, be sure to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to browse the channel and check out more fat biking videos like this to see as well.